Time being 9 o'clock, we'll call the meeting to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good, Colin Kaepernick's not sitting in the audience. Yeah. Didn't see it. Oh, jeez.
Has everyone looked over the agenda? Are there any additions or corrections?
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The minutes, has everyone had a chance to read the minutes and look them over? Motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our first appointment is Mr. Yant.
The first thing I think on the agenda is, I believe, is the
Can you come forward over here,
Okay.
please? Thank you.
first thing on the agenda, I guess, is the one of the more administrative task is there's a joint powers agreement that's for your approval, and what this is it goes through several different departments here in the county, but this one is specific to us. Has to do with our electronic charging system, what we call MCAPs, and it has to do with our data collection from juvenile matters to adult matters to, I suppose, child support matters that we get involved in. It's a cooperative with other, basically the way I understand it, this Minnesota Computer Cooperative allows us being this county, to access software at a lower price because we all work together on it. And so, to my understanding, the reason it says it's amended and restated is because, again, it's obvious is that there was an amendment here, so it has to be signed again and authorized by the board. But it has to do with just our computer programs and how they interact with other counties. So we're asking the board to approve this, if you would.
I move to approve the joint powers agreement.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, the
Motion carries.
second thing that we have is
Yep.
estate collections. And the reason this came up is because I'm dealing with a rather large estate at this point. It's almost $200,000. And I think also it was a good thing to refresh the board in that in April 2011, the board granted our office authority to collect estate collections for Houston County Human Services and to accept, monitor, and sell assets relating to those collection efforts. And what that means is that typical cases like the one that I'm dealing with right now is someone went into a nursing home and the county has a bill that's out there through medical assistance that was provided. But it's important to know it's not only am I collecting on the county's behalf, I'm collecting on the state's behalf, and that the state, working with the auditor's office in conjunction with them. So like if I have say a bill that we're collecting on $200,000, and I'm statutorily authorized to settle that, say, for $185,000. But even if we do that, that's in conjunction with the auditors and the auditor's attorneys, and so it's a joint effort on that. And as well as with Human Services, Jean Becker, I worked with her on this, doing the collections. And the reason you would settle something like that, even if it is, sometimes it's not always clear, but sometimes it is quite clear, is because when you probate something, there's a statutory assignment of who gets to pieces of pie first. And to help the courts get through these things, the attorneys that are working for the probate estate, they get the first piece of the pie of this. And then we would be number 4 on the people who get to collect. But we're after the state and federal taxes, and again, after the attorney. And the reason isn't like the one that I'm working on now, that we're looking at resolving it through a lesser amount, not a lot, but somewhat a lesser amount. We're taking into account, even if we win this, the attorney that's litigating it for the estate's probably going to roll up $15,000 to $20,000 worth of bills, even if they lose. And they would get paid out of that estate pot that we're looking at. And then for our office is that we would have to spend the time to litigate it up through the courts of appeals, and then there's possibly, I suppose, there would be a situation we'd have to hire an expert to help us litigate that. And so rather than us create law for the rest of the state, it'd be better off just sometimes finding a median that the auditor's okay with, the attorney for the state's okay with, and then our collection officers, like Ms. Becker's okay with. So just wanted to apprise the board of that.
So how long does that process take?
It depends. The one that I'm dealing with right now, it's a novel area of the law that somehow we just stumbled into. And if somebody wants to come over to the office, we could spend an hour talking, like it's fascinating to me at least. But that could take up to 3 years. And so the idea of taking the time value of the money on this and just move forward and reach an agreement and compromise on it. And like I said, this is it's outside the box, the one that I'm dealing with. Mostly it's not a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have to collect because there is a debt to the county, and that's just part of what we do. So we'd asked this, it was done in 2011, this was reaffirmed, it was done in 2013, but it's been a couple, 3 years, and I thought it'd be a good idea to come back and kind of explain, in case you ever get a question from a constituent, why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then to reconfirm that we do have that authority.
It's been a little bit more in the press lately too, so it's kind of good to know.
Well, and it's an interesting thing, and how that works is that, we basically as a society, we have decided that we allow you to have care, but in the end, we do get paid. And we're a pretty efficient collection agency usually because we write the laws. And so that would be the best business to have, I guess, if you wrote the laws for your business. But the Attorney General's office is very good to work with, because if we do have some sort of question that's odd, they're right there on the phone to give us an answer. And so that is better. And we have, and as I think I know that the officers said from Wabasha County, who's down here about the fraud collections, is that our staff, especially Ms. Becker, really knows this stuff. And so it's a huge boost to my office too, having that resource knowledge there to talk to them about that. Not only what's happening now, but what has happened in the past. Because sometimes you wonder, why did you get to this point? And she would explain, well, this is what happened in the past, this is where the law was, and this is where we're at, and that's why we're doing this now. So do our office still have that authority to pursue those?
Right, do you need a motion or a consensus?
I don't know. What I have here, the notes, was that we were just granted the authority.
By all means, I think, you got to take the most economical approach that you can on these matters, is my opinion anyway. I don't know what
So there's no.
everyone else's.
So I guess I would just ask if there's no opposition to us pursuing it still in this matter.
This came up a few years ago, and it was to our benefit to work with the attorney. And
Okay. All right, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Pogozinski, would you like to come up, please? Good morning.
The agenda today to request approval to final out 2 projects. The first project is SAP 028-610-020, which is a box culvert or bridge replacement project with box culvert on County Road 10. Contract was with Van Gundy Excavating. Original contract amount $212,748. Work certified was $200,722.76. So it came in a little bit under the original quote or bid.
I make a motion to approve that contract, that final.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? It's kind of nice when they come in under, isn't it?
It is.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
This next one did not come in under. Project CP 2016-04, which is the crack sealing of various county roadways. Original contract amount $92,435. The work certified $123,202.65. So substantially over on the actual amount of material needed on the roadway. The roadways did have, quite a bit of cracks and stuff, so that's a tough one to always estimate. You're looking at a roadway, trying to estimate how many cracks you have, over however many miles, many miles. We did have a good number, so overall, I think it's better to get this done under this contract rather than wait under a future year's contract to get everything done at once.
So which roads did they do?
Oh, they did a lot of different roadways.
Okay.
I don't have them
That's okay.
all offhand.
All right. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you. We don't open till 9:30, correct?
Correct.
Okay, then we're gonna skip over the 9:30 appointment, and the 9:45 is not here yet, so let's go to the consent agenda. Does anybody want to make a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda?
I would make that a motion.
To approve that they be put on file. I want to talk about
I'll second it.
it. Okay. I want to just have a little discussion while we're all here. I think it's good that we acknowledge that, this proposal from Dick Walter, and that's what we're doing. And then there'll be some other further study done as far as what kind of IT access and stuff can be had. We'll have to follow up on that. But this is just saying that we received his letter. So that's where we're at. I want to be, real straightforward that there still needs to be some other things done with it. Okay? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And do you guys have any highway department meeting?
Have not.
Okay. How about if we approve claims, human service, and license center disbursements?
Move to approve the claims, human services, and license center disbursements.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The next one is to approve the lease agreement for the driver exam space. You all got that in your packet, correct? Do we have a motion to approve the lease?
I'll make a motion to approve the lease for the driver exam.
Second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. How about if we go to commissioner reports right away? Commissioner Chomey, do you have anything to report today?
Yeah, last week I attended the public health meeting with the rest of you and Mabel, and Mary put on a good meeting, good agenda, and a lot of good topics to discuss. I want to remind you of the September 8th, the open house for the One Watershed, One Plan. It'll be at CJC basement at 6:30. I think it would be good if you have any questions to be there, and there will be 1 hour of walking around, getting information, and at 7:30, the members of the One Watershed, One Plan will have a meeting to accept the public hearing input.
This is a public hearing. This
Yes,
one is
yeah.
at 6:30 and where? Right at the Justice?
At the Justice
CJ.
Center basement.
Right.
There, we have one on both sides of the watershed. One's in
The 8th.
Stewartville.
September
I'll
8th.
be attending, but I'll be here at this.
And they're both going on at the same time?
No, they're not. They're
Oh.
different days. One's
Okay.
Tuesday and one's Thursday.
Okay.
This will be a good opportunity for you to try.
See
A
what
few
you
of you
can.
have asked me questions, but there'll be a lot more questions answered at this meeting.
That was
Do you have any concerns about?
I have a lot of concerns about, if, I don't want to get charged, the county's get charged more money for this, how it's going to be implemented.
And have they established that plan yet?
We're waiting for, right now we're spending on implementation grant from Bowser,
Okay,
and then they're going to have to come up with more money to make it work.
okay.
And I had a budget meeting, I'm chairman of the Southeast Minnesota Water Resource Board, and that board is struggling financially now because we have not got grants because we're competing with the grant climate is hard for us to get grants right now, so we did a budget of asking the county for more money, which I told them, none of us want to do that, but we're out of money.
And is
I'm
that
kind of
part
concerned that, I have a question, Southeast Minnesota Water Resource Board, are we competing against the one watershed plan, and nobody wants to do that? And we've already talked about that, but that needs to be answered.
Mm-hmm.
I think we get too many layers of government, we get too many committees, and that's something you need to be aware of,
Okay.
what's coming down the pike.
Does that have to do with the raise that Soil and Water was asking for?
And it's part of it.
Okay.
And Soil and Water is talking about taking over the feedlot stuff,
Yeah, we're gonna have to have discussion
And
about
if they do that, the feedlot thing is part of the Southeast Minnesota Water Resource Board. They get grants through that board. So there's a lot of it wrapped up, it's all getting wrapped up in the.
Since we have a few minutes to discuss that,
Yeah.
do you guys wanna do a little initial discussion on that? Because the feedlot thing it's big. If we really need to do some research
Yeah,
into that, because we're responsible as a county for the funds. So if we're having another agency do all that.
That's my problem is, we're already, the feedlot people, we're already putting in $4,500 in the South Minnesota Water Resource Board to get grants for feedlot 5 and 6. I believe those are the current ones. And if the Soil and Water want to take it over, we're already giving them money too. So,
Right, and when it comes to the fiscal responsibility for that grant and making sure it's taken care of correctly, comes on the county. So if we hand away everything that we could have control over, I think we need to look at the feasibility of hiring in-staff person and what it would cost the county to hire that person. Do you guys have any feelings on that?
Well, we are the ones in charge of it. I mean, we're the ones getting the feedlot responsibilities.
At your committee
I guess
meetings, have you guys discussed that?
when you make a decision one way, it affects other stuff in other ways that
Right.
you don't think of.
Have you guys talked about that at all at committee meeting?
No, we'll be talking about this at September 12th regular meeting when we talk budgets. It's going to be a real long meeting. So, and we'll also be talking at one watershed plan, but not at the public hearing.
Okay. I personally want to know more about it before we go ahead with it.
I think about it a lot.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think, as a board, I don't even
When we
know.
initially started One Watershed, One Plan, we said we don't want to, are we going to be competing against other boards?
Uh-huh.
Nobody wanted to do that. Nobody wants to have to cost the county more money to implement it. All you're doing is put more layers of government on, and people don't like that.
Is it supposed to be taking over something?
No.
No, it's just
It's
another
a new
layer.
watershed. The state wants, they developed 5 big watersheds, and we're one of them. We're the first one, we're in the pilot program to go through the whole process of trying to get it going and implement it.
So it's
We're the
especially
leader.
important for us to.
We're the trial balloon.
But it's especially important then if we have questions to
Be at
to
that meeting.
be at that meeting.
Yes, for sure,
Okay.
yeah.
But it sounds like we're competing with the resource board then.
Right now, it seems like it, because we're running out of money in the research. She's only got 4 grants, and she's not doing well getting any more, and she's a good grant writer. It's not her problem. She's always got a lot.
September
Anybody have any
8th, huh?
questions? I would encourage you to be at that September 8th meeting.
Thank you.
It's been a long week.
Yeah, it's
We're starting to run budgets. We'll find
Mhm.
out.
Did you have any meetings this week?
I just had the public health meeting too, and it was very informative, pretty depressing, a little bit of it.
It was good open
With the Zika
discussion.
virus and
Yeah.
all the things that they're dealing with.
It was.
But
Drugs.
they're very good information. We need to know about these things.
Mhm.
So, because it definitely affects our public health. And even with changes in Medicare, how they're cutting, and
Mhm.
That is a direct hit
No,
to
it's a-
public health, home care.
Home care, it's kind of a direct hit to the people that are served, you know, as much as anything.
Because
and
then they
that's-
don't want to take anybody that's on Medicare, but it's a state mandate that you have to take it, but then you end up paying for it,
Mhm.
where Medicare used to cover it. Yeah, it was quite interesting. Yeah, that was my main meeting.
Nothing.
I was at the public health meeting too, the collaborative, and I think we pretty well covered that. It was a very good meeting, though.
It was
Well,
very good. I was also at that, but then I also had a personnel meeting. And, you know, we're trying to look to the future as far as how things should line up with, you know, personnel. So just so that you all know, it's something that we're looking at and looking toward the future and how to make things flow well. I think it's really important that we're taking that step back and looking ahead. So that's all that I have.
Can Tess come in?
Okay, thank you.
Can't really do any budgeting yet.
Are you guys all ready for our employee appreciation lunch today?
Yep.
It takes
Dick Walters
42 minutes and
retirement.
around 10 pounds of hamburger, and I did 30 pounds. I timed it because I was doing wash at the same time, so I set my timer for that.
One pan at a time?
I
You have a
actually
big
got
pan.
out 2 pans after a while because it was taking me so long. Won't be ready for
Now
today.
you'll have a system down, and from
I
now
do.
on, you can be using it for everything.
Yeah.
And then department head today is Steve and Teresa.
I don't think we need to bring any treats.
No,
We'll be
I
good.
don't think
They'll be
so.
full.
We already did.
They'll be full.
Yeah.
On Dick Stones and Monuments Project, is there like issues with his accessing public records or?
We just don't have a policy
Mm-hmm.
exactly for it, and so before we go ahead and do something,
Mhm.
that needs to be established first. It's got to do with the data and all of that, so.
Okay, yeah.
So instead of just going ahead and giving the permission, we're gonna research it first
Okay.
and figure out where to
There
go.
really shouldn't be any private data that you're aware of.
I don't
We
know.
don't know
I
what
mean,
he's
that's
going
what
on,
I don't know.
suppose,
So
yeah.
that's what we're investigating.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
Ms. Kruger, if you'd like to come forward, that'd be awesome. And if you want to bring along your friend, you can too.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Donna.
Oh, I'm sorry.
have-
Mark Schultz, he's the jail administrator and Tessa's friend.
And my buddy today. On our agenda, I will put the sheriff's office at the top here. We have a jailer dispatcher resignation, Mr. Scott Jennings, Jennings. He has submitted his resignation. His last day will be September 5th, effective September 5th. And at this time, and we wish Mr. Jennings well. I know he was a rather recent addition to the county. He is pursuing law enforcement career. And so he has an opportunity that has,
Do we have a motion to accept Mr. Jennings' resignation?
Move to accept Scott Jennings' resignation.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
so at this time, we'd also like to seek permission from the board approval to go forward with the current pool that we have, which is where we advertise for a female applicant only. As you know, equal opportunity employment law provides that we have to have a bona fide occupational qualification in order to have gender-specific requirements for any job. Now with our increased population in the jail, we do run, jailer can explain they run 4 shifts. We currently have 3, or will soon have, hopefully, 3 female jailer dispatchers, and we could use that pool and seek out a 4th one. You want to discuss your shifts briefly?
Winona's been sending us all their females. They don't house females in the jail anymore. So if someone gets arrested at 1 a.m., we get them until the next morning when they go to court. So we're getting 1/3 of our inmate population right now are females, and that's going to be increasing up to even possibly half.
So when they do their intakes, there has to be, according to the DOC regs, there should be, they'd have to hold the person coming in until a female arrives. But that would at least put us to a full shift. It doesn't necessarily put us to where we have cross coverage for days off. But
How many
puts us at full.
dispatchers, jailers do we have right now?
With myself will be 18.
Okay. I just kind of looking at the proportion to.
Yeah. So we have 4 females. That'll still give us, we still have, with our 12-hour shifts, we have 1 female on at every shift. If
Okay.
there's no vacations and sickness.
So we have 3 right now?
We'll have 3 after we hire.
We're currently in the final stages of hiring our 3rd one.
So the 4th would be the replacement for Scott?
The replacement for Scott.
Yeah.
And we can use that pool because we have a, what they call a BFOQ, bona fide occupational qualification of requiring a female to be present during those searches and intakes. So that saves the county. Mine is not a bad thing for us. We're very cautious. In triggering BFOQ, this is the legitimate reason we've documented the record for it.
So at night, do you have to have a male and a female dispatch? One to let them into the jail?
We
You have to
have,
have a female dispatch?
we'll have a female, with the 4th one now, we'll have, each shift will have a female.
But a male dispatcher cannot let in a female one?
They can, right, the male's gotta be with the males, the
Okay.
females, when they come into the facility, the searches.
All night long?
Yeah. With the searches and with the different
Mhm.
classifications and stuff.
Before, we were able to kind of patch things together because it was an occasional female, but the situation has changed, so it mandates.
So 1/3 of them are inmates are female now.
Currently right now, yeah. And 90% of them are all females from Winona. So.
Mm-hmm.
So we, with
So-
this resignation, we'd like to be able to look at our current pool of applicants, and because it is a very recent efforts in advertising for that competitive search process. And
Do we have a motion to approve the search for another female jailer dispatcher? Or going to the other pool, I'm sorry.
out of the current pool?
Right.
I'll make that a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
I don't think there was
Thank you.
anything else there. Okay, thanks a lot. Building maintenance, we have a change of employee status request. Mr. Greg Olson will be completing his 6 months probationary period as of September 14th. So that's in a couple of weeks. This would not be effective until that time. Mr. Olson facilities reports to me, so I'm going to put on that department hat for a moment, if you will. Mr. Olson has a good record of teamwork. He has done considerable review of our, done a needs assessment that we've had to have done. He's provided us with emergency procedures as far as training staff, not just maintenance staff, but other staff, how to do water shut-off and all those kinds of things that could happen in our 24/7 operation. and has put some things in place that I think are really going to be helpful. Has doing a lot of making sure staff is getting as much training as possible in all aspects of the facilities that we have. So I've been very pleased with the documentation that's provided to my office, as well as the organization that's being put together, and the cross coverage and training. So I would highly recommend approval of his probation at this time.
We have a motion to move Mr. Olson from probationary to regular.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
We have had a resignation from our IT technician, and at this time we'd like requesting the board to accept that resignation. The resignation comes from Max Ecobina, E-K-O-B-E-N-A, and effective, it was effective, his resignation was effective last Friday. It came after the last board meeting prior to this one. So at this point, it's a formality.
Do we have a motion to accept the resignation?
Move to accept the resignation of Max Icovino.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Did we just hire him
Just hired
a
him.
month ago?
Not too long ago.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
With that, we're requesting that the IT director and I are requesting that we go forth with an IT search. We are going to meet to determine, because this is a market field for us right now, we're going to get together and determine how we can maybe network and have some results. We're looking for someone to help us with work, the help desk, as well as the intra and extranet for our web, I should say.
Do we have a motion to go ahead with this hiring?
So move.
Second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
And lastly on the agenda is the drug-free workplace policy. It's updated from 2010. What you will see different in here is the removal of the safety-sensitive positions for the random testing for safety-sensitive positions. As you know, that aspect for random testing needs to work through the unions, and the safety-sensitive positions being in the jail, we were not successful in getting that worked through with LELS. That said, this policy, we need to have an active policy in place because of accepting federal funds through our highway department. And so Brian contacted me and asked me, if we had a current policy, and I did update it for that, and I forwarded it previously for your review. Now, having said that, folks wonder, well, if you don't have random testing for your safety-sensitive positions, how much risk does that put you at? And I have to say, I don't believe that there is any risk associated with it, because by statute, which is quoted in here, there is reasonable suspicion testing, but there is a process that we have to go through for that. And it's not a cumbersome process at all, so it's fairly straightforward. So I will take any questions you have. Otherwise,
So who can be randomly tested? Anyone or no one?
all of our DOT drivers, CMV,
Okay.
commercial vehicle drivers, and that's discussed in here. They're in random testing. That would be our commercial vehicle drivers, both for the highway as well as for the recycling center.
Okay.
and they are part of that.
So the random testing isn't for all employees, it's only for the DOT?
And never could be for all employees. According to the law, you can only random test for safety-sensitive positions in addition to the DOT
Safety-sensitive,
testing.
okay.
The safety-sensitive is per state law, the DOT is per federal law.
Okay.
And we would have to negotiate that process with our units. We have with AFSCME, and AFSCME has accepted it. However, those positions, AFSCME positions actually go into the jail, so we haven't implemented that separate testing for people, because it would, from a random testing, a random pool of 4 isn't very random.
Mhm.
So, but should we ever get to that point, we have negotiated that with AFSCME as well as with MAPE, although there are no MAPE employees that fall into that.
So by law, you can't random drug test all employees?
No, sir.
Seems odd that you could. I mean, it seems like an odd law that, hey, you behind the computer can be high as a kite, but you over here can't. You know, I mean, it
It's
just
the
seems.
Fourth Amendment,
Yeah, it seems
Commissioner,
weird.
and the Fourth Amendment is, protects us against unreasonable searches and seizures, and our expectation of privacy within our person is very high, and as a government entity, we have to comply with that. So we have to have a reason to do the search.
Yeah.
And so that's, actually, if you think about it, I know most folks are more accustomed to the private sector, but as you think about it for the public sector, the government can't just search a person randomly. So from that perspective, if we put it in that context, which is the context it's put in.
And so if there are questionable behaviors,
Right, then you can.
Reasonable suspicion
Right.
testing, and the policy covers that and gives an employee checklist and things. Also, if you have safety sensitive, and that is very narrow definition, how that is defined.
Mhm.
Air traffic controllers, for instance, that's safety sensitive.
Cool.
So you need approval for the policy?
Please, Commissioner.
We have to have it.
So I move to approve risk-free workplace policy.
I'll second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Commissioners. Is that what you're asking?
Commissioners, I come back and do we go right into budget?
Carol,
Yep,
what would
no,
I-
we have one thing first.
Okay.
It'll only take a couple minutes
No, that's
opening the
okay.
bids.
So don't go too far.
Correct, correct. Had to think about the date. Thank you. Ready to open bids? Are you guys ready?
Mhm.
Okay.
We have one newspaper bid.
And these are the bids to do with the, becoming the legal paper for the county.
For the rest of 2016.
Correct.
4 months.
This is a joint bid between the Argus and the Springbrook Herald. The bid is $6 per column inch. That is up from $2 per column inch. We did specifically request competitive bids, and I know the statute does allow joint bids, and I'm wondering if the county attorney wants to weigh in on this?
Well, just that it's a poorly written statute, but it does say here that a bid submitted jointly by 2 or more newspapers for the publication of public notices must not be considered anti-competitive or otherwise unlawful if the following conditions are met. 1, all the qualified newspapers in the political subdivision participate in the joint bid, and it seems to be that they did. The existence of a joint bid arrangement is disclosed to the governing body of the political subdivision before or at the time of the submission of the joint bid. So I don't know, when was it submitted?
So if we would accept this, if that's the statute, that means that they can pretty much name their price and we have to go with them?
Well, it says here, and this is the poorly written part, the board is free to reject the joint bid, and if it does, individual qualified newspapers do not refuse to submit separate bids owing to the rejection of the joint bid. So it seems to be, if they meet conditions 1 or 2, and again, this is just thrown to me this about 15 minutes ago, then it seems to be that you have the ability to reject a joint bid, but it doesn't seem if the second part of that clause, if that is contingent upon the rest of the newspapers that are qualified agreeing to do it separately, or if you can just reject it out of hand. It's not clear, and I have to take some case law, look at some case law on that.
Well, could we give you time to research that?
I could get back to you next week on it.
Would that be, could we do that?
I think that
Table
would
it,
be
yeah.
a
We'll
good thing.
table it and take it
Mhm.
under advisement and, okay. Is that a consensus by everyone?
Yeah,
Yes.
I guess my only thing is, I don't mind looking and researching it, but I don't, I only laugh because Dan right here, I think it's, I mean, they did what legally they can do, so I mean, I don't know what,
Well, let's have our attorney check into
Sure.
it and see, and we'll bring it back again. All right.
As I understand, isn't this the way this county had always done it? We always kind of had a partnership.
We did, and the reason it changed is because it
I
got
think
to the
the
point.
reason it changed is because of poor leadership at the Argus at one point, is what I understand. Josh.
Actually, the reason it changed, we called a meeting of the newspapers years ago because the bids were getting so high. The cost for our delinquent tax list, we have to bill back to the people who are on the list, and that cost kept going up, and it got to the point where we were gonna have to charge $50 a parcel to cover our costs. And you're putting so much more back onto people who are already struggling to pay their
And that
taxes.
was at what kind of rate? Do you remember offhand?
I would have to look back,
Okay.
I don't remember.
I mean, the rate that's reflected there, if it's split 50-50, is $3 for each newspaper. Our rate is $8.90 now, which I think Spring Grove's rate is what, 7 something? So even the $6 amount reflects a steep increase from what our traditional rates are. And I guess I question why the newspaper business, Judy, to your comment, why are we looked at as, well, you guys are gouging us in price, and I know those aren't your exact words, but you're gouging us in your price, you're raising your prices. Everybody else who comes here and presents bids, nobody else is asked to do that. Brian Bogazinski presents bidder after bidder. He just presented somebody that came almost $30,000 over what their original bid and promise was.
But it has to go through being certified that that's a factual thing. It's not just they come with this much more and we just say yes. It's certified on our stuff.
I mean, if you want to show the price, I mean, so you're saying you need us to justify.
No, I'm not saying that at all. You're
what
just
charge?
questioning our bidding process for jobs, and I just wanted to explain that we do bid out everything. We bid
highway.
everything that we do with the highway. So I would just rather table it and not make a decision right now.
If I could just add this to it, I was just thinking through this. So you have a couple options. One would be the board could accept the joint bid, but if you deny it, then you went out you're going to end up really back with, you're stuck with the newspaper.
I want to, before I go forward with it, just have you do some research so
Sure.
that we're giving, this is something new. I don't understand it. It came back to us before because we hadn't followed through enough on our bidding process, and that's the reason I want to make sure that we're doing everything correctly.
Sam, you said this was just laid in your lap 15 minutes ago. How did you know that this was going to be a combination bid?
I was just told by Ms. Meyer.
I received an email from Heather Gray. I emailed her and asked her if she was submitting a bid, and she emailed me back and said no, she was doing a joint bid, which surprised me because we specifically requested competitive, and I wanted the county attorney aware of it so that he could advise us.
Okay, so for now, we'll table it. We'll talk about it again.
Next week.
Yep. Then we can move into our budget meetings, if you're ready. Yes, 2 minutes is fine.
speaking of budget meetings, I'm on the finance committee, and we brought it up a number of times that after checking with some other counties and even for better efficiency, that like Fillmore County, for example, has 2 commissioners meet with the department and the finance person to go over the preliminary budget, and then they bring it to the board so that things can be explained better. Well, we are already starting budget meetings, but I was going to suggest we do that at least for our 4 big departments. Have 2 people meet with them in advance before they come to us. And it's just a suggestion.
So would that
places
come
that
out of
have
their-
administrators or administrator and 2 commissioners work with the departments and stuff, but
So would that be based on what committee you're on? Is that how, or would we just?
no, it could just be 2 people who really want to, I don't think you care who's on it, but we're thinking 2 commissioners, and it would really be public health, highway, the sheriff, and human services are the,
And last year, you and Justin, we met with the bigger departments just to go
Mhm.
through some things and.
you know, sometimes it gives them a little better chance to explain why they're asking for that, where we understand it ahead of time, so that we're not just saying cut pencils out of your budget this time, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea.
And I don't need to be on it. I mean, I'm just bringing it up because we've brought it up at finance a couple times. It might be more efficient for us, and you know how we used to get together afternoons for a whole month and go through it line by line. Well, we had 2 people that could kind of go through it and get it ready for the rest of us. It'd be better, more efficient. Just an idea.
Do we have any commissioners who would like to volunteer to do that, or for a certain one of those committees, or?
I'd like to be on one of them. Doesn't matter to me. Right now I'm on highway. Maybe it'd be better if I was on something different. You know, change it up. What's everybody thinking? What are you thinking?
I could volunteer to be on any of them. I don't-
Yeah, same here.
You're already busy with personnel, the 2 of you.
You're already on finance, aren't you, Teresa?
I'm on finance committee, yeah, I could do
You
it.
should be on it. You should be on it.
And I do get a report every month in advance, kind of, so.
Yeah, I can stay on highway too, for that matter. I guess it doesn't.
Okay, so let's look at this. We have highway,
Public health
public
Sheriff.
health, sheriff,
and human services.
human services.
Those are our biggest
Okay.
levy amounts right there.
I
Otherwise,
would,
I take veteran services.
I would be willing to do human services just because I serve on the committee and I'm, you know, kind of on policy and stuff for that one also.
Okay.
Does anyone else want to do that one?
I can, unless Steve wants to.
I'll take it. I'll take a shot at it.
Okay,
Okay.
human services will be Judy and Steve.
Yeah.
Sheriff's Department?
There you go, Justin.
Well, I guess I'm kind of confused. We just need 2 commissioners to meet with each individual department, not change up the department structure.
Right, like we did last year, we had Justin and Teresa, and we had highway, we had human services, we
Right.
had.
And they just come in and sit down with the 2 commissioners and the finance and just explain their budgets.
Yeah.
So we just need 2 people that are willing to sit down and talk to those departments about
Right.
budgets.
I mean, I
so you
wouldn't-
want the same
I wouldn't actually
commissioners-
change it up for each one, because then
Okay.
you don't have, you know, kind of the same mindset that you were looking at when you were,
Okay.
you know, talking on this to this other one and finding out. I would recommend
Just having 2 do all of them.
Just, right.
Okay.
do it.
So do we have any volunteers to do all the committees?
I'll do all of them. But I need help.
Yeah, I know.
Do you want to? as
Don't know
chair?
if I'm fully available.
Yeah.
I mean, I can do it because we can work
Mhm.
around a schedule if that's okay. Are you
I
guys
can-
comfortable
I'll come
with
in as a
that?
second, you know, if somebody can't make it,
Okay.
do that, call me.
Okay.
And then we can talk to you later
Mhm.
and set up
Yeah,
times.
set up some times.
Okay, sounds good.
Like for next week, if there is time, we could do some of the smaller departments again. Just let
Okay.
me know
Sounds
when you know.
So
I do
oh,
have
sorry.
all the budgets returned to me. I sent out the last of them. I got the last in on Friday, sent the ones out Saturday to have them reviewed by the departments, and waiting to see if there's anything maybe I put in wrong. So next week, we'll start out actually having the summary of how all the budgets have come in, the things that have affected the budget, where we're at in terms of requests for additional, like say appropriations, and because we didn't increase any of the appropriations that we've typically approved, and there have been some requests for increases, so we'll have a summary of that.
Can I make one request as far as the outline of your summary? Is there a way you can make it very, very simple to read, like kind of like bullet points? You know, if we had, say, for instance, if it was 3 hires, you know, hyphen additional, whatever the money is,
Right.
you know, fair amount plus whatever, you know, I mean, just kind of keep a, just a quick, you know, does that make sense?
Yeah, I was thinking of a spreadsheet.
Yeah, something.
You know, 'cause
Yeah,
like
something so we
when-
can just read it real quick versus like a whole budget thing, and then it's confusing as to well, this went up. You know, I mean, just real simple.
Right, that's what
This
I
went up by
meant
this
with,
much. That,
you
yeah.
know, the additional item, well, the items that have affected our budget.
Yep.
Of course, salaries have affected it
Yep.
with that, but also the additional things that haven't been entered that have been requested.
Yep. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Like that?
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah, that helps a lot too, so you don't have to.
Yeah.
I agree. We did have good news though for the budget though, this morning. You told us, or about the,
We love,
let Tess tell it. Okay.
Tess,
Okay.
would you like to come and
Okay.
join Carol?
Okay, Tess.
that kind of comes from HR.
Oh, okay,
What came from HR?
Good news.
yeah.
Oh, we have good news about health insurance. For our 3rd year in a row, I'm very pleased to announce that a 0% increase. I believe the statewide, I have these numbers in my head correctly, the statewide increase in health benefits for cost of health increase in the state is 7.1, I believe, somewhere around 7% or close to it. I believe the overall need for the county hovered just shy of 0. However, we're in a pool. There have been years where we've been well over that, our need, and you know, the benefit of a pool is moderation. And we may even have a modest refund coming because of our history. And the refund is based upon us being a continued partner. As you may recall, several years ago, about 5-6 years ago, we started with our insurance committee and negotiating with our unions a change in our health plan, going from a traditional comprehensive major medical, kind of old-fashioned policy, if you will. We had 3 of them. And we have moved to what's called a consumer-driven healthcare model, which has a higher deductible. However, it also has an HSA and a VIBA, which we contribute to. And so the health benefits are managed more by the employees now. And the purpose of doing that was to control rate volatility. And it took us a couple years to do that. I believe our first year out, we still had rate volatility that was at or exceeded 20%. It was significant as far as an increased need for premium, and the year prior was pretty significant as well. So there's no guarantee going forward, but it has been proved to be well worth those investments in those HSA and VIBA accounts. So I'm very pleased about that. And The SSC continues to, just so that you know, we continue to monitor the field, if you will, trends, analyze different kinds of policies, as well as different ways of delivering health information and health care with our underwriters. So you may see some other options on the horizon for discussion with our insurance committee in the next year or two.
Great news. Thank you.
And also our life insurance company.
I thought that was good news too.
Well, it is.
10 cents a month.
And we're going to, we filed a intent with SSC to put a grant together for another year for wellness funding. And I have to say, the wellness program that our public health department has put together, I think is tops. I personally think it's the best one in the whole doggone pool. Because we have made, it's not just an HR program, we actually turned it over to the health experts and the health education experts. And I highly encourage any county to take a look at that model, because our public health folks have done us a great service.
Right, so,
Are we doing this or are we on hold?
right?
Budget, yes.
Well, Commissioners, as you see, I have requested some changes to the budget, starting with the human resources budget. I think the item of most greatest significance is item 6370, contract services. You see we have 20,000 penciled in there, and that is for the comp work that we're doing.
The what work?
Comp work. As you may recall, we negotiated with AFSCME to take a comprehensive review of our job descriptions as well as their banding. And so with that, we are reviewing all the positions across the board, because we can't necessarily just do AFSCME in isolation. For those who may not have been on the board a few years ago, the policy was that the county would do a fourth of its positions every 4 years. And so we then had a freeze on that, and then that was followed by we'll do it as needed. And so it is time now to do a comprehensive review. And we've gone forward with some of the departments and working with the director and the staff. The goal is to have all of them done prior to the end of 17, countywide, which is a pretty aggressive a goal, but I think it's doable. So that is the largest one in there. Employee programming is another item. As far as bringing in, we haven't done this for a while, maybe bring in some quality improvement programming or customer service programming, etc. That has yet to be analyzed, but 2,000 is actually kind of a drop in the bucket. It may get us, but it'll get us some programming that we can offer as a quality improvement measure going forward. So you will see.
So it'd be a countywide offering?
It'd be
or your
countywide
department?
offering.
Okay.
We did that. We had similar programming 2 or 3 years back.
And maybe we should call it employee programs rather than programming. That sounds kind of like mine.
Employee program, education.
There, that would make more sense.
The software license renewal there is the part of the HR programming that we have. It comes due every couple of years. I actually, if I can, I will be, I am actually looking for a way to make that additional payment out of this year's budget if I can. And the publishing and advertising increased cost, we just, advertising has gone up, as have the number of searches that we do. We're trying to be smart about it, but we still had a significant increase there.
That'll go up even more.
I don't know if you have any questions. I will say on the comp worth, you know, this is being done by Gallagher and Associates, and they will, they are offering us a discount for clustering some of our work. And it's about $300 a position, and that doesn't mean every person. That means our positions that are similar will be evaluated once. We will submit one for their banding. However, if we did not do some of that field work ourselves, if you will, I call it field work, internally, I know there are counties that are paying upwards over double that amount. Have a specialist come in and do it, and we have good working relationships with our faculty, our staff, and our employees. So we're getting a lot of our own work done, and then we're submitted it for their evaluation. Oops, pardon me. Building maintenance budget.
That one actually went down, building maintenance budget.
I wanted to point out that the licenses you see there is that we are, that is the work for the boiler license, and we will be compensating for those licenses annually going forward.
Really, you can kind of notice the trend with a lot of the departments on the salaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the personnel department, it did decrease, and last year we had this year, 2016, we have the 27 pay periods. 2017, we will have 26. Not every department goes down though, because we did have the 3% increase, and if there are still employees receiving step increases, this will most likely increase as opposed to going down. Where we've added staff, there you're going to see larger increases. But and then of course we have some health insurance changes, so some of those can add up to kind of a decent amount.
Any new buildings brought online additionally, we're going to have additional staff in this line. Just keep that in mind. We are running at, I think, an incredibly efficient operation in building maintenance. We do take advantage. We have a good partnership with the DOC, with Citizens to Serve. They do a lot of our grounds work, as well as some of our interior painting, and that helps a lot. We may, I talked with Craig, we may even see some concrete work done yet this year, I'm not sure.
So we have to be kind of specific for the Citizens to Serve people.
Craig is a very talented individual. He's a good foreman for that crew, and he also comes with a lot of experience. So it's professional experience that we get from that.
That's great.
Yeah, my titles aren't matching up. Just give me a minute. That was. There's something that didn't get transferred over to that. Just a moment, Commissioners. Oh, yes, there was a building maintenance. There was although the overall increase is down, one of the changes I would like to point out that you will see that is different is on the equipment side. So if I could go over the equipment proposal with you. That is on the second page of the budget.
It's on page 3 of the packet that you received.
Second page of that particular line. Yep, not line, but division.
Because they got pulled.
So it's line 6610. What we're talking about there is, one of the things we're looking at buying next year is a lift, a used lift. It'll cost us, we've estimated it to be about $6,000. As you know, right now, we are contracting to use a lift 4 times a year, is roughly 1 to 2 days each time with the school district. Although the school district has been wonderful about doing this, it is not meeting our needs. We need to have a lift here all the time, and I'll give you an example as to why. When something happens in the jail, and for instance with the sprinkler line, we have to be able to go in there and repair it immediately. So if in the gym the sprinkler gets damaged and we have to shut the water off, that shuts off the sprinkling system. This building is not evacuated in fire, it's sprinkled in fire. We have to be able to get in there and do that right away, and we cannot rely on having, and we became aware of that recently, because we had a situation where we were actually able to repair the next day, but the problem is that we need to be able to do it right away. And this is a health and safety issue, maybe with some of our increased revenues coming from into the jail, that might be an avenue, because it is one of our increased costs.
Are we paying for the lift now?
Yes, we pay. I can't remember. It's
I just can't see where it is on here.
probably that. Is that the 900 that we pay for that equipment there? No, it'd be contract services. It's under a contract service line
We don't have
for
anything
the
there.
Justice Department.
Oh, in the Justice Department one? Okay, I'm sorry.
So, but it's a heck of a deal we get from them. It is, it's a very modest amount, relatively speaking.
What kind of response time, when you need it, how long does it take to get it here?
Well, first of all, they have to be open,
Okay.
not on weekends, not during the evening, and not during holidays.
Okay.
So anytime the school's shut down, unless they're going to call staff in,
Yeah.
and then we give them notice
So we got a
ahead of time.
24/7 facility that
Then we
has to
give them
rely on-
notice ahead of time. I mean, they're responsive as, they don't put us off.
Yeah.
And this is a piece of used equipment that would satisfy, we could sure use it more than 4 days a year as well. We have, would put it to good use besides just repairing the occasional sprinkler. And if you look at all of our windows here and some of our trimming we have to do,
Do you have a place to store it? Where are you gonna keep it?
I know
It's a
Greg
pretty
has
big
talked
piece.
to him over there. I did not double check with him, but I know he's met with him on that.
Where would you put ours?
I don't know, I'd have to double
That's right.
check. I
Where
know
would we-
Greg talked about it, but I neglected
It's a
to.
pretty big piece of equipment.
What, out of curiosity, not to get too into this, we got other things to do, but we talked a while ago with the highway department about buying used equipment, and Brian said that we couldn't get used equipment because it was too hard to go out for bids for pieces of equipment were of the same age with the same wear and tear on it. What do we do for finding a used lift?
Well, we will be getting quotes, not bids. We're not required to bid on this. It's not of the amount that we're required to do a bid process. So we will get multiple quotes
Okay.
and go with that. We've done that with our bigger mowers and things like that in the past.
Okay.
This equipment probably isn't going to come under the constant wear that maybe are exposed to the elements like maybe your highway equipment is. But for us, we feel that we can get a rejuvenated, if you will, that's not the right word, but a reworked piece of equipment that'll satisfy us. Otherwise, it's twice that amount. And the maintenance folks, Greg and I had a long talk about that. In fact, I asked him the question about, is it just going to break in the following year? And they're relatively straightforward pieces of equipment. We think we'd be able to get something very satisfactory that meets all of our safety needs.
And I'm assuming you're talking about the big scissors lifts, right? The nice, yeah, yeah.
Just a single man lift.
Oh, okay, not the big four-wheel cage
It is,
lift.
but it would just, it's a smaller, it is a bigger
I know which
one,
ones
but
you're
it's.
talking about, yeah.
And they have all the safety belting and
Yeah.
everything in there. It'll help us get to our cleaning too on some of our higher pieces, but the main reason that's driving it is the health and safety for the jail.
And I think it'll be a piece of equipment, when you have it, you'll find a lot of uses for it, because they're very handy.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have to, and we have ongoing training that we had to do for the other, and so our staff will continue to have the training here. The other thing we're looking at is our big riding mower needs replacing. We're looking at, we think we can, again, get by with a piece of used equipment for that. Mowers is pretty straightforward equipment. Ours kind of breaks down regularly. It has it's mowed a lot of grass. It was used when we purchased it several years ago. We've gotten our money's worth out of it. And I'm trying to think of, and then we're looking at some new equipment. The mower's going to run about $8,500, I believe. $8,500 to $9,000. This big commercial riding mowers even used are that expensive. The other equipment that's new, we're only asking for $1,000. We, as you may have noticed around here, and I are in need of having some clippers and shears, and we need equipment that can reach higher up in the tree. They need to be able to saw things off. They need to be able to trim these taller hedges. We don't have the equipment for it. This also has so we've built-in brush for the sidewalks as well. It's called I think a still, S-T-I-L.
Steel.
Are you talking about the ones like over at Ken's?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So it's got multiple purposes.
Yeah.
And this is about the third year in a row staff's asked for it, and so
Well,
I've
steel
put it down.
combi system.
I would look at the Echoes too, because we've got an Echo, and we've got all the attachments for that, and Echo's a little bit cheaper, a lot easier to start,
Less expensive?
less expensive.
Not cheaper.
So
Right, because
we-
you would never
we
call your
will
wife
look
cheap,
at-
you call her less expensive, right?
Right. Mhm.
for the
Frugal.
purpose of getting a quote
What's
for
that?
the budget,
Frugal.
Yeah, exactly. A friend of mine always used to say that.
we
Whenever you'd
did
say
the
cheap.
estimate off the one,
He always
but
used to say, "Don't
certainly
ever
we
say
will
cheap,
get
say
multiple
frugal.
quotes.
Yeah.
Still get multiple quotes anyway
We'll
before you
get a couple
actually do
quotes
it.
Yeah.
before we buy, but thank you for that. But
And
the staff, they're right. We really need that equipment. They are using manual equipment. Our shrubs actually are taller than they are. I suppose they can roll the lift out, but
No, you can use a lift.
So
Good call, Teresa.
who's
All
the,
right. All right.
we're not going to be rolling
What's that?
that lift
who's
all
the
over.
dealer that,
I thought Ken's had Echoes too, but I'm not 100% sure. But just check, because I'm just saying there's a couple different brands, and I know at our house we've got Steel and we have Echo, and we're kind of leaning a little bit more towards the Echo stuff. But like our pole saw, we use that constantly. That's probably one of our heavy pieces of equipment that we use for the attachments. So I agree that you could really spruce the place up if you get the right tools.
It has a weed eater,
Yeah.
hedge
Edger,
trimmer,
yeah.
a sweeper,
Yeah.
all those attachments.
Well, you can get the edger for the sidewalks too.
Mhm.
So yeah.
And so that's what we're looking at.
Mhm.
And they do a great job on the grounds, but it's always helpful to have the right equipment.
Yep.
Like I said, if we can, as the year gets closer, if we can squeeze anything out of our budget, I just always hold a reserve back for emergencies. But if I can release some of those funds for purchases this year, we certainly will do that. Historic courthouse,
I wondered that too.
budget 112.
Carol, do you have the surveyor's budget with? It's not in our stuff we got.
It was supposed to be.
I was just looking for it because I noticed you guys were here and
I didn't see it in
Yeah.
I thought it was just me that didn't get it. Okay.
Yep. While you're talking, I'll
okay.
get that to you.
Department 112,
Mm-hmm.
line item 6606, improvements. The increase there is a estimate, hopefully on the high side, but it is an estimate for changing the locks around
Okay, security.
and for potential security to everything to a key punch pad. Okay. Department 113, no change in budget. It seems to have worked for us pretty well for, this year we had some garage door repair we had to do over there, and replacement of some parts there, but otherwise we seem to be in pretty good shape there. The historic jail, no change. We do have, just as an FYI, I will be putting together a PowerPoint presentation. If they allow a PowerPoint, I'm getting instruction on that. To the Historical Society at the state, they are going to be reviewing. I haven't heard anything back yet, but they will be reviewing
It's still those 2 days, right?
applications.
And they'll let us
22nd and
eventually
23rd.
know which one it is, correct?
Hopefully, otherwise I go and sit for 2 days and just take my chances.
Okay.
But I know Ray will be going up, and we may have another person from the community as well, and 1 to 2 board members if you wish.
And I
But-
plan to go to that also.
So I think we will, I'll just keep you informed there as to what's happening with that budget. Is for the historic jail reuse study as well as this building for the architectural design work. That's necessary to do the roof and the steps that are on the capital improvement budget put forth.
Can you give us a figure on how much it costs to heat the historic jail per year?
And I think we were looking at about
Or
1,200.
utility costs?
1,200, was it? Maybe, if that much. We keep it around 50.
1,500?
No, it's about 1,200, I believe. We keep, because it isn't a separate, I guess it
You've
is
got a couple of
separately
natural
metered.
gas furnaces, forced air furnaces, I think, in there. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
If I
I think
remember
We have
right.
one
One.
in there, and I believe it's around 1,200, maybe
It might actually
14.
be more around 2, but for the entire years, but I'll get that.
That in mind, we did receive the money coming in from the recent film crew that was there. It was $1,000 for 2 days. They didn't need 3 days. And we do have some interest, which from the high school band boosters and I believe their IT club, to have a haunted house that we need to be negotiating with them on a fee. And they'd just be the ground floor only, no staircase, and we put protective covering over the floor because it's an unlevel floor. We wouldn't, that'd be their cost. They would put that down. We might rent potentially 3
I
weekends.
think we need to have a lot more discussion on that, though.
And that is, we haven't got that fully fleshed out, but there is that potential.
Well, it's kind of looking at it too, where we're giving opportunity to, everyone. Like, that's why I like that 4-H thing when we talked about that last year. And then what happened, the insurance, they couldn't get the insurance, or what was it? That the 4-H, we had talked to 4-H about doing it, the haunted house, then it was county-wide.
Mhm.
I kind of like to see the opportunity, since it's a county thing, be a county-wide event, I don't know how you,
Yeah, this is a, public entity.
right, but it's specific to a certain part of the county.
Yep.
And since the last time we looked at it, we kind of looked at it as a county-wide. I don't want to, narrow it down until we've had a lot more discussion about it.
So, I have a name for you, and then maybe we,
Okay.
the band director.
Okay.
So, any other questions about the historic? I will say some of the budgets that you see in here for each of these buildings, I'll just make a blanket statement as far as the utilities. We're supposed to have a colder winter this year than last year. So I expect that a lot of this budget is going to be, that you see that may look like excess this year. It is really hard to gauge what the temperatures are going to be like and how much the utilities are going to be. I will say for the Justice Center, which is budget 116, with our increase in inmates, we have increased cost of salts for the softener, we have increased cost of heating that water, we have increased cost of, all the utilities that, it's marginal in some cases, and in other cases it is almost the water cost and all of those. So I expect that as the kitchen is used to feed more, we're going to be increasing our need for to do the grease pit cleaning and some of that those other increased costs that just go along with usage. So even though this year we may not have used all of the funds in there, it's hard to tell, we aren't at the end of the year yet, I am very hesitant to back that down, just because it's going to be, there's just going to be higher usage.
And I guess that probably on that point too, I don't know if there have been any discussions regarding the money that is received from Winona County. Is a portion of that going to be, specifically earmarked
That's
for
what I was
utilities?
just sitting here thinking about.
It's nice to reflect it in the sheriff's budget because
Yeah.
it has to do with that, but
But maybe it should go toward the
but
electricity,
there
water.
there maybe should be some allocation directly to
Mhm.
cover additional costs otherwise that aren't,
Right.
so something.
And we had considerable costs this year in some of the repairs and things.
But I mean, just like anything, there should be it should be portioned out, your expense, this for electricity, this for, set aside for repair,
I did, actually, I'll point that out. I did put, and this is just a number I pulled out of the air. I tried to do the best estimate I could on the increased electric and water and sewer. And so that's where you see that increase there.
Say, Carol, is there, and maybe this is too difficult to even come up with, but is there a way to figure out what it costs per inmate? If we were to take the expenditures for, the jail staff and I don't know if we can do proportions for electricity for that area, or, could we really find out what it really, really costs, or not really?
We could probably come up with a bulk, an estimate. Of course, you're basically going to have the cost of the building if there's one prisoner there, if there's 30 prisoners there. 1 to 30 is where you have to have a certain amount of people. It doesn't, and we have the dispatching also.
The personnel,
We'll have to take a look at.
From personnel and, I suppose, food, medicine, that sort of thing.
Well, those are the easy things.
Yeah.
When
But I
you're
mean-
talking,
But we should be able to take the last couple of years inmate average with the personnel, not the dispatch side, since the dispatch isn't necessarily with the inmates themselves, but
But
you'd
it's
have
the
the
same-
jailer dispatch.
yeah.
So it would be
It's
close.
the same staff that cover dispatch, though, so there has to be, probably some
Yeah.
understanding.
But I
we
mean,
can work
just,
on that,
having it
definitely.
close, so that we can kind of get an estimate that last year's it cost this amount per inmate to house, just so we know so we're not shooting in the dark and.
Mhm.
Yeah, a nice daily cost would be good to
Yeah, I
know.
mean, if you could break it down,
The
yeah, right.
utilities and the kitchen usage, those are going to be marginal increases,
Mhm.
because you have that base that is pretty hefty anyway, but there are going to be some marginal increases.
Mhm.
If you're in a household and you're feeding a household of 3 versus a household of 8, it's incremental all the way around the house. So, the increased
we
wear
pay
and
for the-
tear, et cetera.
We pay for the direct cost of the meal, but it's the indirect cost
That's the indirect.
that is going to be affected.
We have a
Right.
severely ill inmate, somebody that's costing us a lot of money too, which is gonna,
Well,
Expensive
the
this.
contract you have with the Winona County, though, they pay all those costs directly.
okay, I thought this was one of ours.
Well,
Yeah.
this was one of ours, and yes, he did end up he was in the hospital twice, ICU, and we are responsible for those
Mhm.
medical costs. We hold to that, the MEND contract, who negotiates the other things that we have to pay directly, that they'll be able to negotiate some kind of price for us, but I don't believe we've gotten any of the bills yet for that.
Okay, I think we should keep moving on, though.
Last, for the medical examiner, the contract that we currently have with them provides for a 2.5% increase. Almost 2.5%, yes, a 2.5% increase for 2017. And so that's reflected there, and that's all I have for budgets, Commissioners.
Thank you.
I will be back. I intended to be back here for a portion of the day next Tuesday. So if you have further questions or clarification, I will answer them.
Each department had actually filled out the 5-year capital improvement plan, which you received a copy for the building, building maintenance. The amount that was put in there, the $130,000, in looking at the security and all the different items there, is not included anywhere in the budget at this time. So if you were looking for that, what was put in there, it's not in any of these line items. There was talk or discussion regarding using our capital improvements money for that, or some other source. So we'll have to address that.
And the majority of that is going to be with the cost of having camera buildings is pretty significant, and what that entails. But we think we can do that, and possibly even the other parking lot behind. I included that in our estimate. Those are ballparks, though. Okay.
Thank you. And we just received the surveyors, so if you want to go to your email and pull it up.
I don't know if you guys noticed, I'm really short.
Yeah, we've been noticing. Short timer.
Which is why we brought you in today.
I know.
Put you under
One-
the hot seat, or on the hot seat.
One last hot seat. I brought Tammy along because I think as this moves forward, she'll probably be helping this budget out.
I guess probably the note that I would like to make is that none of the salaries, benefits, or anything connected with Dick has been changed until such time as a, decision is made as to how it's going to go. So
Okay, that's good.
that's my caveat.
Okay, that's good
Rather than
because,
reduce it or,
Yep.
something and then find out, no, that's not going to work. So we just leave it right as it is.
Yeah, and I think that was kind of our mentality too, that we knew there was some things that were going to probably change, but we pretty much just stuck to what we had done in previous years. Because, I mean, I'm hoping that the next surveyor, I mean, I think looking at AutoCAD and probably looking at getting more linked with the GIS and stuff, and so that's a kind of a big variable. So I kind of left the items that are probably going to come out in because there's a little bit of
Because we could be looking
wiggle
at
room.
other things. I think that that's probably a good way to go. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I left in, like, the equipment rental, that'll probably, I think the intent is that we've kind of talked to, I could let Tammy address that better. You've talked to Highway and,
Well, yeah, we're looking at sharing or using their total station, because we don't utilize it that often. And then maybe down the road, then they would get a new one and we would just take over their older one, because they don't get much for trade-in anyway.
you know,
The AutoCAD seat, which Dick hasn't used, that would be an additional. Well, we thought for this year coming up, me and the surveyor would share it and then see from there if he's gonna use it more than I do. If we can maybe share one from the highway, or else we'll just have to purchase. That will be a big item, but we'll see what the needs are there first. Let's see what else on. 62, 64, the other professional technical fees, that one went down. People have less class, but we do have 5 of them still for next year. So that'll take a little bit better.
How many do you normally do a year?
It just varies, but we've
Okay.
had quite a few because of that catching up with the flood.
Uh-huh.
There were a
oh,
lot
I
of
think,
bridges.
yeah. I think since probably 2007, I bet we've had 50 plans,
Okay.
Yeah.
at least.
Probably. So we're hoping that'll get more business as usual, you know?
Okay.
Otherwise, it hasn't done many changes. The registration and training, we put that up just a little bit because we figured the next surveyor, and we both would go,
Mhm.
kind of introduce him to bigger counselors and stuff. Nothing necessary.
Your gas and maintenance on the surveyor's truck went down 5,000 though.
Yeah, because last year we
We,
had the
we,
lost.
we
Oh,
spent
that's
that
true, you did.
$4,000 on,
Restoration of the
yeah,
vehicle.
and they did and St. Mary, well, whoever the guy is, what's his name?
Steve Peterson?
Yes.
He did
That was
no,
good work.
the guy that owns St. Mary's Auto.
Yeah, that's Steve Peterson.
Oh,
Yeah.
he did a really good job, and as a matter of fact, I think he actually did some extra work and
Mhm.
didn't charge us, so that was nice. And I've had great luck working with them.
Yeah, the severe supplies, and the computer, we are gonna need, with Dick, we rented a lot of his equipment, so we are gonna need to purchase, range bowls, tripods. But it's minimal, probably maybe $1,000, and if we can get that out of this year's budget, most of the end we will. If not, once I raise that a little bit.
Any questions or comments?
It's an interesting year to do a budget.
I did really kind of intentionally stay on long enough to go the first round on the budgets.
Okay.
because I really, this has been a hard thing.
Well, we appreciate everything that you've done, Dick. And in a half an hour, we're going to start celebrating. So if you're okay with it, we could actually move on, because yours looks pretty good, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Sounds
just,
good.
I just wanted to say that 31 years ago, I opened the office. That hadn't been open for 50 years. And I do appreciate the board, you guys are going to keep it open.
Yes, we are.
Mhm.
And that's really all I care about.
Okay. Thank
Thank
you.
Dick.
And it's
enjoy your-
because of you that it will stay open, so thank you for everything you've done.
Enjoy your short time.
Yeah, I didn't wear my golf shoes and shorts. I thought the shirt would be
You got
enough.
that nice shirt on, though.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tammy, would you see if they pushed the on button on the coffee pot over at the CJC?
I did run into Bob, and he said he was going
Oh, good.
right over to plug in the coffee.
Thank you.
I'm gonna have hot coffee.
I had it all ready just to turn on, so.
All right. Do we want to,
Shar?
Shar?
Okay. Which one do you want to do first?
Which one are we gonna do?
Now we're going to
Well,
go
I
back
think we have
to
it-
Carol's first ones.
In line, it's auditor, then the
Whoops.
I got auditor
commissioners, then the
first.
license center, then elections, parks, general government. That work?
That works.
Mhm.
Okay, auditors first.
Okay, basically auditor, mostly I've gone down on everything a little bit, trying to trim back wherever I can. Are there any questions? I guess I don't know what else I can say. I've cut back everything I can.
Should the change,
Are we gonna be looking at an increase probably in publishing, just something?
You know, that
to
concerns me,
publishing and
yeah.
advertising?
And that's one thing, I've been sitting here behind the scenes while you were going through these, just doing some quick research so you'd have some numbers. It was in 2010, the cost of the delinquent tax list went up to $8.89 per column inch. And when I did the math, we would have had to charge back $54.84 per parcel to break even. And it was very upsetting to me because I hate putting that much more on these people who already can't pay their taxes. From there, it went down to $5, $4.80, $4.69, down to this year being $2. I mean, we've really had some good competitive rates, and we've been able to charge, $20 to $25 to cover the cost. I guess that's concerning to me, but I don't know that we have any control over it.
Well, I think we're going to, have Sam look at it and see, but I think that for our budget, we have to be very aware of that.
Right.
That number could go up
Yeah.
significantly.
So how much money does it usually cost us a year in delinquent tax
Let
listings?
me pull that back up again. It has been, last year was $1,443, $1,600 the year before, $1,900 the year before that, 2012, $2,239. Like I said, in 2010 was the big year, $4,222.
I was worried it was gonna be like $20,000.
Oh, no.
Well, if you combine all of the advertising and publishing.
Or each
Well,
budget.
for
Yeah, I'm just
everything,
talking the
It's
delinquent
But
going
ones.
just, because that was just what the bid was for, was the delinquent, right? It was $6 per column inch? Or are you talking, that was for every publisher?
What we did today was just for legal newspaper, which is your minutes and anything we have to put in as far as an ad. My concern is if they do this on all the bids, including the delinquent ones, it could skyrocket again.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's my concern.
Do we have a number what we've paid the newspapers per year in the past?
We'd
we
have to
know
do
what
some
the-
research to know what we've paid for everything. What I've kept track of is the delinquent ones, because that's what concerns me.
I'd be curious as to what we've paid the newspapers for everything. You know, over the
Yeah.
last 5 years, what we've averaged the last 5 years,
We
how
could
much
pull
we're
that.
actually putting out.
Yeah, I can,
Because if it is like 50, 60,000, I mean, we should be aware of that, then we could
That's
break
a
it
lot of
down.
levy money, yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, I can run a vendor listing.
Yeah, could you?
We have ECM, we have
Lee.
Spring Grove.
River, what is that one, River something?
The one that we really won't be using anymore.
Well, yeah, but we've paid
But
them.
we paid them.
Yeah, I would just do all newspapers for
Yeah.
any advertising,
And
publishing.
the banner, we.
Yeah, the
something's in
banner, we
banner.
have things come in.
Advertising for the job openings,
Is
you know,
really
in different
expensive.
places also, so.
But I mean, I do everything, because then you can get an average of how much has our advertising cost the county over the last 5 years.
Mhm.
All of those.
Mhm.
Because we, I mean, just had to raise our budget, and that wasn't even considering
Mhm.
a change,
Mhm.
you know, in
So-
HR, yeah.
And then you'd be able to kind of break that down to every dollar per column inch costs us X amount of dollars per year. You know, once you know what that average is.
Right.
Mhm.
And then we could then better know that if it went from $2 to $6, we could look at this type of an increase total, roughly.
It's going to be.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering, maybe we should up my printing costs to, I don't know, 2,000, 2,200, somewhere in there, just in case. 1,800 may not cut it.
Well, we were at, what, $2 a column inch for the
Right,
beginning of the
for
year?
this year.
So if it goes up 6, you went up 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last year, we paid $395 per column inch, and it cost us 2,200. Wait a minute, no, 1,400, I'm sorry, looking at the wrong line. Last time we paid $6, it cost us, well, 1,500. I don't know, maybe we're okay at 1,800? Or we could go up a couple thousand just to cover our butt.
Well, for right now, it's preliminary. I'd rather.
We can always come down.
We
with
can always
that.
go
Cover it.
down, should we go up to 2,000?
Sure.
Okay.
That's a big increase, actually.
Carol, on auditor fees, should that $1,000 be a negative? That's a revenue, right?
Oh, yeah.
It is. We
Yeah.
had this
Yeah,
kind
this
of every
argument.
year. In order to make the bottom line actually show you what effect there is on
Mhm.
the,
Yeah,
on the whole department,
you gotta do it this way.
it's $1,000 change.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, if it works for
Don't
you.
necessarily like this,
Okay.
program, but we kind of have to just make it work.
Get
so
along
that
with its
our-
quirks.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because,
Do you want to go into a commissioner's budget then?
Sure.
Didn't you want to bring up, isn't the elections under yours?
That's coming.
Oh,
The commissioners comes under you also? right?
Yes, Board of Commissioners, and basically,
so the other professional and technical fees, in 2016, we started with that at $70,000. Then we allocated a certain amount of that to the sheriff's office.
yeah, the
for
tower or
the
something, yeah.
Tower movement. So the budget money was actually moved to there because it's more appropriate for that to actually be paid out of there rather than being paid out of the commissioners.
Mhm.
So that's why I made this the starting $70,000 again. Yeah, so it looks like the budget increased, but when you look at the sheriff's office for that line that it was moved to, they have that much of a decrease.
Okay.
But we don't want to keep putting it in there, so they think they have that to spend. You know, the $70,000 in your professional and technical fees is your
Right.
money to allocate for projects.
So it's not really a raise, it's just a retransfer back.
Transfer back.
Makes sense.
In 2000, from 2015 to 16, it was dropped by the $12,000, from the 82 to the 70.
Mm-hmm.
So, just so that it's not really an increase, it's just a reallocation.
And other than that, we haven't increased anything. Is there anything you feel we should change in your budget?
That always seems fine to me, you know.
Doesn't have a trip to Hawaii in there.
No,
No.
I don't think it will either. Okay, do you want to go on to License Center? Again, the only thing I've changed there is a decrease in mileage because we haven't been spending that much. I do want to keep some in there. DAR's going to a training here coming up, and there's talk of a new system where we may be sending people to training, so I want to keep something in there.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's all in there. Then if you want to go into elections, we started 2 years ago in the off-election year, we started putting money away for replacing election equipment, and I've budgeted for that again. I want to build up that fund. My hope is to get new election equipment either next year or the year after, hopefully before the 2018 election. What we have is about 10 years old, which is ancient for that kind of equipment. For the
Is the
most
state
part,
coming out with anything towards that?
the state doesn't. It's vendors.
Okay.
And the piece of equipment that I'm kind of possibly looking at, a lot of the counties bought it this year to use for the in-person absentee voting on the 7 days before election. You can come and vote in our office, just put it right into the machine. I'm not doing that. We're still using all the envelopes because we don't have equipment to accommodate it. The equipment we have right now will only hold program cards with 10 precincts each. So I would need 3 pieces of equipment there with 3 big ballot boxes in order for people to absentee vote in person during those 7 days. I don't have an extra piece. I've got 2 backup pieces of equipment, not the third. We don't have room to set 3 of those. I've only got 1 ballot box, so I need to buy 2 more. I'm not going to do that with old equipment. As far as purchasing the new equipment, I thought about it. The caveat there, in addition to the ballot or the machine that reads the ballots, we've got the AutoMark, big heavy pieces of equipment where you can vote vote for handicap voting that we're required to have. There's an attachment to the DS200, the new piece of equipment I'm looking at, where you can do the AutoMark voting. But that specific piece, the attachment is not yet certified by the state.
Okay.
And I don't want to buy it, and then what if it didn't get certified?
Let's see how everybody else
I'm-
does this year.
Yes, that's kind of what I'm waiting for. There's a
I
few
think that's
counties
a
that have
good
gone
idea.
to a whole different system. I kind of like to do what our neighboring counties do, so we're kind of in the same boat. We go, we ride together to the trainings.
And so
we
if you
can
need
back
to
each
use
other up.
something, yeah.
Yes, exactly. On the flip side of that, I don't want to wait too long either, because we started the program cards for the M100s. We purchased initially back in 2006, and in 2014 they were dying on me right and left. I ended up replacing all the program cards, thinking they would be good until we bought new equipment. I had 2 of them die again already this year, brand new program cards. And when our IT people, we talked to them, they said this is ancient technology. So it is time to move on to new equipment. But anyway, that's my spiel on election equipment. Other than that, I've got just the basic things in this budget. We have to pay our computer maintenance every year, whether it's an election year or not. Everything else has gone down. Park budget. Basically everything we're going down, however, not projects. The projects budget, we kind of want to finish what we're doing down there with all the upgrades. I was told to budget $150,000 to cover the new bathrooms and extending the water and electricity upgrades into the south end of the park. I added $10,000 because we generally end up spending $10,000 on highway department staff time down there.
Yeah.
In addition, that's where I came up with the $160,000. Other than that, everything is about the same. I did
That's-
propose higher fees because I'm hoping we
Great.
generate more fees
Yep.
now.
Yeah,
Yep, that's kind of
it
what.
generally does fairly well.
It does well.
Mhm.
And then one of our next projects will be looking at, once we get this Wildcat stuff together and taken care of, then we'll start looking at Botcher Park. And,
Did they, highway ever do the training out there?
No,
No, not yet.
they went somewhere else.
oh, they went somewhere else?
Yeah, they did something else.
Hmm.
They're gonna go down there and do that part.
Are they?
Because there's different people who have brought up ideas for Botcher Park too that, will be good to look at.
Any questions on the park budget?
Anyone have questions on it?
Okay, then general government.
We don't add the property tax amounts in until we have all the calculations to know what our levy will be, what will be approved.
Okay.
And I see we didn't put county program aid in yet. I must not have had the figures yet when I
Well,
completed this.
That's another allocated one through through there. You had put it in, but the entire amount. But
Okay.
it actually gets split between
True.
county revenue.
Okay,
And
yeah.
we don't do that allocation either until we have the whole levy
Okay.
thing. And we consider it as part of our levy when we do the certification.
Right.
Because we do those three, and then we add or four, and then we add the CPA,
Okay.
or subtract the CPA. So that's always left
Okay,
out
good.
when we do that.
So county program aid line will still be coming in?
It
Yeah,
will
we'll add
remain
that.
blank until we adopt our levy.
Okay.
You'll see that on the calculation sheets that I give you to show where we're at,
Okay.
how much we would need to balance the budget, that kind of thing, on that one spreadsheet. And we'll actually have a preliminary copy of that for next week.
Okay.
The insurance refund I reduced somewhat because our premiums are going down, and I think chances are we won't get as much back.
Mhm. It's kind of how it sounds.
Yeah. Other than that, any questions on anything?
What's our projects line?
That's another one I was just gonna bring up. The insurance refund has been designated to be used for capital expenditures. So there's an $80,000 revenue in that insurance refund line. Is that the amount that's in there?
Mhm.
So then project also will be $80,000 to know that that money is
Designated.
designated for that.
Okay.
So that we don't budget at less than that, because then that will go to reduce our overall budget. Unless the board determines that they don't want to specify that amount for that anymore, then we would change that amount. And it's another one where this year, it was originally at $99,093 or $3, but because of the EOC upgrades for the
Sounds-
cameras or the
Yeah,
recording,
audio, video.
that amount was moved to IT, the difference between those two. But for next year, we start out at the 80/80 to keep them even. Because if you look at then, when we look at the IT budget, their furniture or computer hardware budget is going down by $46,000 because that was moved there.
Any questions on general government or concerns? Okay.
We do have, SEMCAC has requested additional appropriations and soil and water.
Are those on here right now?
They're on the second page. Root River Soil and Water right now receives $129,000, and they've increased that request by $18,000 to $147,000.
Which page is that on?
Where is that?
Page
It's on
18?
page
18?
Okay.
not showing page numbers anymore.
You gotta touch it and it will.
You just have to touch
Oh,
it
there
and
we
it
go.
pop up.
It's telling me, yeah, page 18. Cellco has the increase, and that's something that might want to be addressed in 2018 because they actually had the miscalculation in the 2016
Okay.
one. We might just take a look at where they'd actually be at with the way the appropriation was supposed to be.
Mhm.
Where's the soil and water line?
It is 0100036986.
Okay.
And I think SEMCAC has actually requested like $3,000 for each of the things that line items where we give them
So
money.
that's not, we haven't budgeted for those
No.
increases,
No.
okay.
I think every year they ask for more, and we
Right.
haven't gone up
And we haven't
in
gone
quite a
up.
few years.
But in addition, they did ask this year for the senior dining program,
Mhm.
like $900. I think they're seeing issues with the
They're-
senior dining
Yeah,
program not being
they've gone to
able to fund it.
they've gone to the different cities that their programs are at
Mhm.
to try to get additional
course-
funding, because they're not getting there's a donor, a suggested donation for the meals.
Mhm.
They're not getting that much. It's not coming
And I
in.
think their attendance is down. Here, like
I'm
here
not
in-
sure about attendance.
Here in Caledonia, I know there was,
Okay.
or there has been. Hopefully it'll go up now with winter time.
Mhm.
That's kind of what we have right now.
Okay,
You have to go.
yep,
We'll continue on, figure out what time next year.
okay.
Sounds perfect.
Yep. So do we have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries, we're
Um,
adjourned.